Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And tonight is a special night. I don't normally come on a Tuesday night, but I made a special one for my good buddy Carlos, so we can just talk comics. We can talk our two campaigns, which are closing out. I guess in the next mine is I got 12 hours. What do you got,
I
Carlos?
got
How much more
20
time?
about I got about 20.
You got about 20 hours. So there you go, man. And we were just talking about the highs and lows of this Kickstarter game, right? So yeah, man. I mean, how did you find this Kickstarter? I mean, how did you find it going for you? You know.
It was so I set as we had spoke before we went on, I set it low.
Mhm.
All of my other campaigns were 2000 and higher. This one I decided, you know what? I'm going to go low and see if we can't get it out of the way because the sweaty pits from from sweating it out.
Yeah.
It's no fun. So we ended up. It took ooh, 2 hours. I may be wrong, but I think
Mhm.
it was we in 2 hours we covered it. We were above goal, and then the rest of the time it was just please
Right. Right.
doing
Yeah.
the
Right. Just
begging and saying please. So we're at 3,400 now. So again, we want to. I'm hoping to close out at about 4, which would be great because the promotion with work promotion has been really hard, and then across the board Kickstarter numbers have been down even for the big guys um where they I'm not going to name names, you most of you know who they are, but
mhm.
a lot of their campaigns were pretty much 3, 4, 500K, and the, recently they're happy with 200K or 180K, which of course for most of us would be
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
life changing,
Right.
but for them it's like that's half. That's
Hmm.
they're less than half of what they normally take. So
Yeah. Unless your name is Neil Gaiman, he made 3 million. So.
yes, he has, and Colleen Doran has
Yeah.
her life's changed and like that, and she's posted that
Yep.
on her Facebook page.
Mhm.
This is a game changing, life changing for her as well because she's now what I don't know the details of how much they're sharing, but I would
Mhm.
assume that she, if not a millionaire now, she's close to it.
I mean, yeah, it's a three-way split, right? It's him, it's the Terry Pratchett Foundation, and her,
Yeah.
right? So who
And at
knows? I
three
mean,
million, it's gonna. I'm gonna say on the low end, you're talking 600-700K. It's
yeah,
gotta be.
yeah. I would probably say that anywhere between 5 and 7, somewhere with somewhere in there. After because they're gonna have expenses. They gotta print
Yeah,
everything, ship everything, do all that jazz. So they're not gonna do it themselves. So
but she don't have to work. She can live off of commissions alone for the next
mhm,
however many years. So
exactly, yeah. She could be like, DC, Marvel, you guys can
yeah, you can
just
keep it.
have a seat, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was a grind for me. I mean, I set my goal at 3,500. We just passed that a few hours ago, or like 4 or 5 hours ago. And I mean, it was just the whole time was just like, damn, this thing is just taking forever to move. And here's the thing: the one thing I noticed is I would have days where I would just lose backers, right? And then I would gain them, and then lose them, and then gain them, and then lose them. It's like, what the hell's going on? And I think, I mean, I don't know how badly you had it, but
I did. I
yeah.
did. I We should have already, if we didn't have all the backers we lost, and we've
Hmm.
lost more backers in this campaign than any other, and it could even be um, more than any of them combined. It's been
Hmm.
that bad with
Right.
backers coming out. So we should technically already be over 4K and on
Hmm.
to probably 4, 5, maybe even 5. Um, but every day I would be, oh, we're over 70. We're not 70. We're over
Hmm.
70. We're not 70.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, because we would have probably been over 5 by this point on my campaign if I had kept everyone. And I think one of the factors was that is that I did set the goal too high. I botched this one, if I had put the goal at 1,000 or 500 the way I normally do, I think we would have exceeded that. I would have done some stretch goals, and I would have been able to, even if I would have just held on to like half those numbers,
Mhm.
right? It still would have been better than. I mean, listen, we met our goal, so that's
Yeah,
what matters. And it's just like, okay, we met the goal. We can just now move on. So that's the good part.
it
So
is. It's always nice to be able to know, okay, it's we can do this one.
mhm,
This one's done. On to
yeah,
the next. But yeah, it's and if I would have set it at what I normally set it at, we would have only crossed that. It would have been last week that we would have crossed the threshold. So
right.
I would have been sweating like a dog
Hmm.
um, all this time. So yeah, we're well past it. And the thing, oh, this is something I wanted to cover with you.
Right.
I haven't got any help from Kickstarter like I have in the past. It's almost like a shadow ban type of thing going
You
on.
think
I'm
so?
not saying that it is. I'm just saying that it's like that in that because I've got over 120 Kickstarters that I've backed. So I'm a super backer. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
constantly getting those updates every
Hmm.
day. And I look and I always click them and then I scroll down to see if Kickstarter is helping me out by at least giving me a feature
Right.
once in a while. They did not. There not one time did I
Mm.
find it. And in the past, they've given me what is it, the projects you love or whatever
Oh
we
yeah,
love or whatever.
projects you love. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten
Yeah.
those, and those things always help to get a boost.
Hmm.
Didn't get a sniff, and did not once did I ever see She is Black Dahlia down in those things. And again, I've had dozens of Kickstarters and
Right.
updates that come through, including yours,
Hmm.
and not a single time did I see it. So they did not help me at all in this
So
campaign. So
yeah, because that's funny. Because I never. I mean, I'm a bad promoter because I never look for those things. I never I never look for because I'm a super backer as well. I've backed 350. I don't know. There's a bunch of campaigns because I'm
yeah,
a degenerate. So I have to get my comics. Um, but yeah, I never look. What's funny is I get that email, I just delete it. I don't even look at it. I don't even
no,
open
I do because I want to see because they do help. I have
it.
noticed that if you get the little feature or you get the projects we love, those are bumps. They give you bumps because it's bringing eyes in that are outside of your circle. Um,
Right.
and so, but for this one, I haven't even got a single bump. Uh,
Mhm.
for the first time, Facebook ads don't seem to be paying off. So I may still not abandon them, but they have
Mhm.
not really, because it'll give you in the little stats.
Right.
That's one of the things that I like about the Kickstarter is the breakdowns, the analytics. And in the past, I've gotten a whole lot. The Facebook ads have paid off because it'll tell you the people that signed up based off of the Facebook ads, and those
Mhm.
have always paid off. Not this time. It's like Facebook
Mhm.
ads weren't working, and Facebook themselves haven't helped me out. So thank you for everyone, the 70 plus backers that um, helped us with this campaign. Because without you, we probably have 10 cents. It's
Yeah,
I thank you.
yeah. The only thing I think that helped me out was the fact that I did the early signups because normally I don't do them. But I said for this one, I said, let's try it because we're doing something a little different. It's not the Oswald Chronicles, which is what I'm normally pushing and promoting, and what my mailing list is primarily dedicated to. So I was just like, well, let's do that. I think we got about 130
That's
something
great.
signups,
That's great.
and
I hit 80, and that was
mm,
like the second most. But of course, we've got 72 backers, so I don't know where all those 80 went,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it was the second most behind the Remarkables. Remarkables cracked 100. And then this one did 80. So I was like telling Oliver, this is gonna be huge. We're gonna do this much and this much, because only Remarkables did better.
Mhm. I mean, it's one of those things. You get in there, you do it. It is what it is. I mean, it's a tough game. We've both been at. I mean, how long have you been self-publishing?
For so 10 years with American Revere, and then it goes back to the 90s if you count the ash cans.
Right. So yeah. So I've been doing it since '92. Right. So you remember how different it was back then. You're talking about ash cans, right?
Yeah.
So ash cans went from that's all we could do, right? To now we can do them in full color digital presses where they actually look like comic books.
Like comic books, yeah, because that's
Yeah.
all we could do, because there wasn't a whole lot of the printing. Obviously, it was only offset, so there was no print on demand back then. So ours was, can we find somebody that can print us up some ash cans in black and white? That had to do, because otherwise you were spending a lot of money without having, and that was out of pocket. There was no, unless you can find investors. And I tried that. There was a moment there where I went door to door looking for investors for Champion Comics, but
yeah,
that
and I mean,
didn't work.
look, I know I did it. I published books through Brenner back in the day, and I mean we have 3,000 book print runs minimum. So for Tall Tales, Dreamweavers, Reaver, I mean Revelation Saga, we did all this stuff. And I mean, when the system was that we had 14 different distributors, it worked. You could sell those numbers and still see a profit. The system now I think is getting a little bit better.
It's a little bit better. There are no at Diamond. I'll be going in there next year because they did away with the quotas, so that was huge, because that was a big hurdle. Because I would be out. Even the book that we just had that just went. So Exciting Comics 38, Antarctic Press. So it was the first appearance of the Remarkables in comic shops. But I was kind of given a roundabout of the numbers that they did for that. And if the quotas for Diamond would have been, so say this was me publishing it alone, I'd be out.
Gotcha.
I'd be out. They'd be saying, it was nice having you, but
it was nice meeting you, buddy.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, but you didn't make the quota. So it is nice that they don't have them anymore. Obviously, we know the reasons why. But so yeah, I think it's a little bit better. It's another thing of another hurdle that you gotta go is because of the paper shortages, and then everything that after that, and the economy, the offset printing is now gone up, and so unless you can do a gang print like it's gonna cost you. Your margins are gonna be dead thin.
Yep. I always tell everybody, I says, try to get together with a like-minded group of creators who are serious, because they have to be serious. If they're not serious, you can't be involved. If you don't have the money, you can't be involved. If you and you have to be able to get on the same schedule. So if you can't do those things, if you can't line up like that, you can't be involved, right? Because sometimes you'll have plenty of guys that'll come in, oh yeah, I want in, and they don't have the money.
Yeah. Then when the time comes, it's like
their books are not ready.
Yep.
Right. And and that's like, no, man, like stuff got to be set and ready,
Yep. And you have to do the offset because you're not.
What up, Larry?
What's up?
What's up, college dropout? Congrats on the Kickstarter. There you go. And then we had Wi-Fi Comics. It says don't even mention Diamond. you know. But
Well,
yeah, man. I mean, go ahead.
I know I have a friend that's looking into Lunar, is it, or Lunar, or
Yep.
whatever they're
Lunar.
called,
Lunar.
to
Yeah.
see if they can get in or how hard it would be to get in there. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of looking over his shoulder to see if they can get that done. Because if it
Mhm.
works, if you can start expanding, that's beautiful. But I have no idea what it's like or how hard it is to get into Lunar, or what's the other, Penguin?
Penguin Random House.
Random House.
I don't. Penguin Random House. Believe it or not, I don't think it's gonna be that hard to get into. Um, Lunar might be because they keep shutting off. Like they keep shutting down. Like they'll take in a bunch of people, and then
Uh-huh.
they'll be like, "All right, we're gonna stop here for a few
Oh,
months," and then they'll open it up again. I spoke to Frank Forte from Asylum Press, and he gave us some really interesting stats on that. He said when he signed up with Lunar, he was expecting his numbers from Diamond because he was already going through Diamond. He was expecting his numbers through Diamond to like cut in half, right? He says that's not the case. He said his numbers at Diamond stayed the same, and then his numbers through Lunar doubled his numbers. So I mean, I was like, he was probably selling 3 or 4 thousand through Diamond. So now he's selling 7 or 8 thousand with Lunar. And that's the power of having more than one distributor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and a third one is coming in. There's I forgot the name of the company. They're a Canadian company. Uh, they're already distributing comics up in Canada, but they're looking to open up a warehouse in the U.S. And
that'd
I'm
be
hoping by having a third one, this will expand the market even further. And that's what I'm saying. It's like back in the day, it was regional, and these distributors would take care of their region. And they would you would get order. I mean, we had Diamond, we had Capital back in the day. Those are your big ones. Capital City was definitely the biggest one. Then Diamond would be just under them, so you could maybe get like 800 from Capital. You maybe get another 700 out of Diamond, and then you would get like 300, 400, 200, depending on the distributor. Like Heroes World was like 300 or 400, and then this other one, and so on and so forth. And then it would add up. It would add up, and that was a great thing. You had, dude. I would send stuff out to Hawaii, right? I think it was Hawaii Distribution. I forgot the name. I think it was Hawaii Distribution, but they were 50 books, and it was like, all right, fine.
50 bucks is 50 bucks, man.
Exactly.
It
You
all
know?
adds up. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the wrestling back in the 80s, all of the different 70s and 80s, all the different regions had their, and so a wrestler could make a
Mm-hmm.
living just bouncing from one region to another until it became the monopoly at WWE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Larry says AP for life. I mean, listen. I mean,
Whoop,
Ben is
whoop.
there. You go. Ben's a good dude. Wi-Fi says, "Oh, the book publishers. You got to be careful. They sit on your work too." All right, this is true. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man. I mean, getting into that game is going to be interesting. Like I said, there's a third distributor coming. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, but I would definitely suggest if you're going to go into that, get Diamond, get Lunar. If you can't get both, I wouldn't even bother. You know what I mean? I mean, get both, get them both in there, because I think by having both of them, you just double your chance of just making more money. Because like I said, if you sell 800 through Diamond, sell 800 through Lunar, you're good.
Yep,
You
you
know,
sure
or
are.
if you're selling 1200, 1200, 1400, 1800, whatever, you're gonna say you're gonna be good, especially if you double those numbers. If we get a third one in there, even if they just give you half the numbers of the other two, you're doing
That
12,
adds
12, and
up.
6.
Yep,
I
there
mean,
you go.
exactly. I mean that's those are the things we need. I mean, that's the problem, that when we had just Diamond, their focus was just on Marvel and DC and Image, and primarily Marvel and DC, because
That's
that's
the
what they're
bread.
getting there. Exactly. Yeah. So it was just nuts, you know.
But yeah, I'm going. It'll be Remarkables #1, and that's going to test the waters. It's already done well with AP, so um, I was very pleased with that. We actually had sellouts in several big retailers, so it did well. And so, but now I'm going to take it through Champion, and then because AP is still going to do American Revere. So
Mhm.
that's going to be nice next year. So we'll have American Revere out there through AP, as well as this one is She is Black Dahlia. And so we'll have that. And then I'll put Remarkables and Night Demon #1 will be through Champion in shops.
Gotcha. You want me to play that video?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, hold on. Check this set up right.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool.
Yeah, my buddy Ambet put that together, the artist of American Revere. It's, again, last minute thing, but I thought it came out pretty well for being something that he kind of threw together at the last minute there.
Mhm.
I was trying to get some quotes for videos for some that would be like with voiceover, and I was getting some crazy quotes. It's like, man, if I'm paying that much money for a freaking video, uh, I'm not going to make any money off of this thing. So uh, he said he would do it, and he did it on a good budget. And I thought, okay, it worked. Um, it gives people an idea of what they're looking at.
Mhm. All right, cool. I mean, you got all your various covers. I know you do a lot of homage covers, right?
Yeah.
So,
Those are the ones that sell. So
mhm.
this time I did a couple of the spicy covers. I'm never going to probably do that one again. Maybe for a different project or thing, but
Mhm.
because spicy covers have been the thing where there's been a lot of numbers, but I think I probably missed the boat on that. Should have probably been a couple Kickstarters back when I offered them, uh, when the numbers were up on Kickstarters. But yeah, that's the homage covers have been the ones that always are the leaders as far as revenue. And it continues with this campaign as well. The Hulk 181
That was
is
the one up there, right?
yeah, the one up there. That one's been right there. That one's
Yeah,
made the most money,
gotcha.
the most backers.
Cool. Was it 181 or 187? I don't remember.
181
181.
was the
Okay.
first appearance of Wolverine.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember. My copy was destroyed in a flood.
Was it? I
Yeah.
never had that
Oh,
copy
yeah.
because my first comic that I ever bought off of the rack was 183. So I just missed it. It's 1975. I was 8, and I
Mhm.
spent my lunch money that my mom gave me because I would walk by a stop and go. There are gas stations in California, and
Mhm.
I walked in, saw Hulk 183 with Zax, and I bought that comic, and that was the first one that I ever bought. So I missed it by 2 months.
Mm. Now I got I bought a collection off of another kid
Mhm.
and in my neighborhood, and I convinced my father to give me like $350,
Ooh, you have a good
right?
father.
Well, my father, well, he owned the bodega, he owned a grocery store, and what I told him was, I said, listen, I said, there's only very specific things that I want, right? So it was like all his X-Men stuff, and like obviously that, and a few other things. And he said, the rest of this stuff you could just sell at the store 50 cents. There was at least 1,000 books, or at least 1,500 books I was giving him that he could sell at the store for 50 cents. Boom, you make all your
Gotcha.
money back, and you make a profit. So he was like, okay, and so he gave me the money, and I redid it.
And then
And I mean,
and then a flood took it out. That's interesting because
yeah, the flood. Well, that was a few years ago. I mean, I was like, ugh, I was just so mad.
a flood took out my comic collection. My not my, my all of my valuables. So I had all of my
Mhm.
valuables uh, in a binder,
Oh,
and uh, and it was a thick binder. So all
mm,
of my Sandman #1 was in there. My
mm,
Spider-Man 300. Yeah, all of my valuables were in there, and we had a storm. We had
mm,
a storm come through with a tornado, and
uh,
it flooded the. It was in our shed, and it
mm,
flooded the shed. So all of that, all my old art, like my art school art, um,
right.
all of my pages, the ones that from the ash can,
Mm,
from I did a book called Hawkwind in college, in art school with a art school buddy of mine. Um, Dev Madden was he was the instructor, um,
mm,
and he did comics for Marvel and DC, and he was the instructor for a uh, comic creator or a comic creating class that we took in art school. And the project, we did Hawkwind as the project, the class project, and then we shopped it around. Never did get anybody. Yeah, the hilarity is we actually shopped it to Fantagraphics.
uh,
And it's
that's
like
funny.
Fantagraphics isn't going to take a superhero book, but we didn't know. We just knew that it
Uh,
was a local uh,
Publisher.
publisher. So, but all of that original art, all the original art, all of that was destroyed. Um, I was lucky that Jason, he hogs all of his art. So a lot of the art that we did together, I was able to get copies from him. But there were a lot of stuff that, including the comics that were destroyed that couldn't get back. I was depressed for a long time about it.
Gotcha. I mean, look, I lost my entire Walter Simonson run, my entire Thor run. I was pissed at that because the I had 336, 337, 338, 339. I had multiple copies of each, all signed by Walter. When I was like,
337 to 340 were in that binder.
yeah, and the thing is, I had him signed by Walter, and I must have been like 12 when I had him sign him. You
Wow.
know, yeah, man, I was like, oh, I was like, whatever.
No,
Like,
no,
yeah,
that's tough. That's tough because my Thors were in there too, and they
mm,
were also signed because I did get a chance to. Um, my first wife and I we actually spent about an hour talking to Wheezy and Walt at a Comic
mm.
Con.
Oh, cool.
We went outside to get some fresh air, and
Mm,
they happened to be out in the creator area
mm,
doing the same thing. And then my wife started talking um, to Wheezy, and then they just started having a chat. And then Walt came up, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, holy shit, my wife
mm.
is talking to Wheezy, and they're just like they were fast friends. And Walt came up, and then he started talking, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, like, that's Walt Simonson. Oh my god! It's like I was totally fanboy geeking out while because my wife, she didn't know who they were. They were just
Yeah,
people that
they were just people, exactly.
There were
Yeah.
just people, and then at the end
Mm,
of it, we decide they were like, yeah, let's take in a basketball game. Um,
mm,
and then I was like, oh my god, a basketball game with the Simonsons? That's insane. And
nice.
then we ended up going to they were sold out that night. So I never did get to have taking a basketball game with the Simonsons, but just that memory was fantastic. And he signed all of my Thors, and I did have all the collection. That's what got me. Thor 337, that Thor run is what inspired me to be the comic creator that I am today. Bar none. There is none, because I had gotten I bought that comic in 75, that Hulk, and from 75 to 78, I collected like a fiend. And then we moved to Michigan from Louisiana, and in that move, the movers stole my collection.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. So they stole the collection, and then they're like, "We don't know what happened to it. We don't know what happened to it." Bullshit. You don't know what happened to it. You stole my shit. And then, and so I got out of it for 4 years. I'm like, nah. I got into sports cards and playing football and baseball and all of that. And so I did sports cards. And then in '82, we moved from Michigan to Washington State. And my brother bought a bunch of travel comics. And a buddy of mine, one of my best friends, gave me a Marvel 2-in-1, I think is what it's called, with the Thing and She-Hulk. And he gave me that book as a travel thing. And so as we were traveling, I started reading that. I started reading my brother's comics. And then that kind of like ignited I like this again. This is awesome. And so when I got there, I bought X-Men 167 and a bunch of other. It was the issue right after the Frank Miller Daredevil ended. So just like with the Wolverine, I just missed the Frank Miller run. And then a few months later, I think it was 2 or 3 months later, is when 337 hit. And I bought it off the rack and just boom. And that's when I started. Right after that, I went home and started making the Electron Brothers, which was the first comic that I ever did by hand. And then Torvald the Viking, which he still exists to this day. And that's one of my proud moments, is publishing when I published him and got him out. And I'm like, it took 40 years, but I got that guy published. And but that's how it all went. 337, Walt Simonson. That was my comic book god.
Yeah, definitely. Walt was one of those guys, man. He was awesome back in the day. Frank, because I got in much earlier. I was able to get most of Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. So I got in, I think I must have been like 10, 11. I was visiting my aunt, went to some grocery store around the corner, and they had a rack, a spinner rack. So I went in there and I grabbed, I believe it was Daredevil 168. It was the first appearance of Elektra.
Nice.
And that was it, man. That was it. You know.
I missed it. I came in with the, and I own it now because I went back, not last year, but the year before. I went back and I went down the list, because obviously online they have every single comic that was ever printed by Marvel from the early 80s all the way through to now. And I went to that month that we arrived and went down the list and repurchased every single comic that I purchased that day, because it was all done at one time. My mom was working at the Navy Exchange for any military. It's kind of like a grocery store or a retail store that's on military bases. And I went there. They had the spinner rack, and my mom gave me $5, which in 1982 was a lot of money. So I spent that $5 on comics. And that Daredevil, it was Roger McKenzie wrote it, I think, if I remember correctly. No, Denny O'Neil, actually. And the Denny O'Neil, it was with this tiger dude that's on the front, and then it's got this and in the front cover, it's got like this dude that's got a scope on Daredevil. And then, of course, later I found out, wow, that was the issue right after Frank left Daredevil. So,
Finished.
yep, finished his run. So I
Yeah.
missed it by 1 month. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I own all those comics that I bought off the shelf from or the spinner rack from that particular month. But I never, other than sporadically kind of cutting back on my buying habits, I've never stopped.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Once in a while, you gotta sporadically cut back. It's just weird, you know.
Yep,
At
yep.
this age, I'm at an age where I'm like, I'm starting to run out of space. You know, it's like it's like I'm like I got a lot of books because the thing is, I don't really collect just regular comics anymore. I'm primarily into hardcovers and
The
trade paperbacks and
trades.
the omnibuses. That's primarily what I'm getting these days, and that's just the way I like to read them. I like to read them in big chunks. So I end up waiting for years for certain things to be finished and over with. But I'm at a point where I'm like, if I was to stop buying today, right? How long would it take me to reread everything in my collection? And my theory, my philosophy is this: if it's not worth rereading, should I own it?
Get rid of it.
Right? Exactly. If it's not worth rereading, why keep it? And how long would it take me to reread my entire collection? And I mean, and it is not small.
I
And
got a
it's
big one too. I have no room.
yeah,
The better half has hounded me and hounded me.
yeah.
She's like, don't bring no more boxes in here.
Hmm.
And because the closet's complete. So we have two closets, and
Right.
both of them are stacked to the gills with long boxes. So
Hmm.
I don't have any more room.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's like I slowed down, or I have a lot of digitals in my collection now. If I want to read some of my older books, I don't want to go digging into those boxes because they're a lot, and some of them are stacked pretty high. So I'm not tall, so
I don't know if I froze or if you froze.
my back.
Yeah, you're back.
All right. So I just said I'm not short. I'm short. I'm not tall. So having
Hmm.
to reach all the way up there for books that I want to read. So a lot of often, like with the Lobo, I decided, you know what? I don't want those.
Yeah, I mean, for myself is like, it's funny is because I feel the same way. I don't like rummaging through boxes to read books, right? So that's why I got into trades and omnibuses. So like now my Thor collection, I just have the omnibus, the Walter Simon omnibus. I just pull that sucker out, just go read it. Same thing with Sandman, a lot of others, Hellboy and all that stuff. And the key things I'm waiting on. Like I'm waiting for the Marvel to release Micronauts, right? Because they finally got the license back, so they're gonna release those omnibuses. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm waiting for DC to release John Byrne's Superman run as either a compendium or like something, because I would really like to have that, you
I
know.
would buy it in a snap. That was my introduction to DC. So before
Mhm.
I was a Marvels from 75, and just let's just say I was into comics from 75 to 86. So
Mhm.
75 to 86, I was a Marvel zombie. There was hardly any. Basically, I would read the DCs because my one of my best friends, my neighbor, he was a DC fanatic. So if I
Right.
felt the need to read a DC comic, I would just crash over at his place, and then I would flip through like the Teen Titans run, the George Perez and Wolfman.
More
So I would
Wolfman,
read those. Or he had the killer collection of Firestorm. I loved reading Firestorm, but I wouldn't buy it.
Right.
So did not start buying DCs off of the rack until Byrne went, because I thought Byrne, I missed the Byrne X-Men. So I came in on X-Men for the
Paul Smith.
Paul Smith. And then
Paul
so
Smith,
it was
Dave
Paul
Cockrum,
Smith and Cockrum. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So I missed it. So my introduction to John Byrne was FF
Yep.
and
Mhm.
Alpha Flight, which I
Yep.
loved Alpha Flight. But
Mhm. Frozen.
I,
And,
I
and
absolutely loved it. So I ended up following him to DC and Superman. And
mhm.
yeah, that's where I got started. And I never stopped. From that point on, I never stopped bouncing back between Marvel and DC. And then am I bouncing out of here too?
Yeah, yeah, you're cutting in and out. I don't know what that is. Yeah, like
Probably
I said,
because I
I
need
didn't.
to reboot, but we're not going to do that because we can't. But yeah, those then the Justice League came out, and
Mhm.
I was pretty much hooked. And then it was Watchmen,
Yeah, the
and
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, Dark Knight, and then it was just and then the Superman Exiled, uh,
Mhm.
which right after Byrne left.
Oh, it's funny. After Bird left, I was done. I was done. I was never a big Superman fan, so I was just like, okay, Burn is done. I'm done. I'm leaving.
Byrne left, and it was
Um,
Roger Stern and Kerry Gamil.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, the great guys, great artists, great writers, but yeah, I was just,
You were
back
out.
then, back then, I was like, oh, Burn is like, all right, it's time to go, kids.
It's time to go.
Yeah,
The last
like,
issue was awesome, though. The one where he killed. Oh, I love that. I carried that issue around with me for like ever in my
mhm,
in my backpack and stuff at school. The where he kills the Phantom Zone. Uh,
oh,
where he
mhm,
that's the very last Byrne issue of Superman, and he kills the Phantom Zone. The three
mhm.
General Zod and
Oh
whatever you
yeah, I don't
call the
remember
other
their names.
two
Yeah, the other two, but
with
yeah, I mean,
tonight.
yeah, but I would love to see DC reprint that. Like that's pretty much what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for them to finish reprinting all the stuff I want, and then I can like just really ignore Marvel and DC. It's just like, all right, just give me the shit that I want, and then I can be done with you people.
So it's never
You
been.
know?
It's not reprinted. It's not in an omnibus.
Not, I don't know, they had offered it up, and then for some reason they took it down. They were just like, no, we're not going to do it, and I don't know why. I can imagine it's because of sales, because Marvel says John Byrne sells better now than he's ever sold. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, give me my John Byrne. Just like I'm waiting for DC to print up Hellblazer in omnibus form, but I mean the whole run, in order, because they have a Garth Ennis omnibus where all his Hellblazer stuff is at, but I'm like, but that only covers just like maybe a six. It was 300 issues. It was like it only covers like 50 issues of it. So I'm like, I want the whole friggin' thing from beginning to end. You know?
Yeah, because they just announced. Oh, I'll be buying. There's two omnibuses that are coming out from DC that I will be buying. They just announced it last month. One
Mm-hmm.
is that Justice League. Um, it's coming out in an omnibus, so I'm buying that.
Right.
And then the Lobo, the Simon Bisley and Alan Grant
Right.
Lobo run is
Yeah.
coming out on an omnibus. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah. That might be worth getting. Because I picked up. Have you ever read Starman?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Starman. Yo, that was awesome. They released two compendiums, had the entire run. And that was, for me, that was as good as Sandman or Swamp Thing. I was just like, yo, that was an excellent, excellent run. And what was really
James
cool,
Robinson, was that James
James Robinson.
Robinson and
Mhm.
Harris.
Yep.
And
Yep.
my buddy Gus, he owns the in Ellensburg, Washington. He owns Central City Comics. So if anybody's
Mhm.
there rolling through, stop by. But Gus, he's my college buddy, and he that was like that's one of his things. So I was always, at least for the 4 years, the 5 years that we were in
Mhm.
college together. Um,
You were reading that.
Sandman, I was reading it because that was one of his top three. I would say, if not in the top two, top three
Mhm.
of his books. And whenever we went to conventions, there was two commissions that he would always do: Sandman
Uh-huh.
and or Starman, not Sandman, Starman, and Dazzler.
Oh, okay.
And so that is what he would do. And so yeah, I was constantly bombarded with that book.
Mm,
But I love Harris's art. So
yeah. But James Robinson, I feel the story is as good as like I said, for me it was as good as Swamp Thing. It was as good as Sandman. I because it's complete. I don't know if you've ever read the whole thing, but it's one complete story in these two compendiums, and it's crazy. It's like you see him at the end hand off the rod to Stargirl. He's like, "Here you go, I'm done, baby." And it's just like that's it.
and then
He's
he's
like,
done.
"Yeah, so I'm done. Here you go. Have a nice one." I'm gonna
James
go do that.
Robinson doesn't get enough credit because he's
He doesn't.
his Leave It to Chance. That was probably the last
Hmm.
Robinson stuff that I have,
Yeah,
because it was obvious Paul Smith
Will
and
Smith. Yeah.
James Robinson,
Hmm.
and it was actually really cool. That was a good read,
Hmm.
but yeah, he does not get enough.
He doesn't get enough credit. Mike Carey, I think, doesn't get enough credit. I was reading Unwritten. Was a compendium they just released, and I'm waiting for the second one. I'm like, bastards, you better release it. Um, but I don't know if you know who Mike Carey is. He did
Oh yeah,
he
yeah,
did
yeah.
yeah he did Lucifer. He did the run on Lucifer. He did 75 issues from the spinoff from Sandman, and that stuff is incredible. I have the two omnibuses from that. But Unwritten, unfortunately, what happened to him with Unwritten was he came out just as Bill Willingham was doing Fables, and it was at its most dominant. And Unwritten was like the second book that nobody paid attention to because Fables was
Because
there.
Fables was there.
Yeah.
So
And it was,
give me your three most underrated writers.
uh, hmm. Well, I would say underappreciated. I'm not going to say underrated. Underappreciated.
Underappreciated.
I would definitely put Mike Carey in there. Matt Wagner, I think, is underappreciated. Um, and maybe J.M. DeMatteis. Because I really liked what he did with Moonshadow, and I really enjoyed what he did with was it Craven's Last Hunt?
Yes.
You know,
Craven's that's one of his most famous
right?
is Craven. As a matter of fact, they just came back and did the sequel to that.
Hmm.
Um,
Like it really needed it.
that's all. That's the Marvel thing now. Is I don't know,
Uh,
because I don't know if you follow Marvel, but that's the thing now, is that they gather the creative teams
hmm.
for that were like, if they can,
Right.
'cause there are some like Craven. I can't remember who was the original artist on that.
Oh, that was Mike Zeck. Yeah,
Zach.
Mike Zeck. Yeah.
Zach. It's not Zach. It's actually
Hmm.
a Facebook buddy of mine
Uh,
that's doing the art. But for the most part, they try to get the original, and then they have them do stories that take place in that
mhm.
time period. So they're either sequels or just not even so much sequels. It's just a continuation. So they have
Mhm.
like they had uh
Well,
Alan
Paul
Davis
and Paul Levitz.
and and they had and Chris Claremont, and
Mhm.
they picked up on Excalibur.
Oh, okay. Because I'm reading Paul Levitz and Alan Davis. they did an Avengers, like it's like right after issue number 5, and it's
That
just it's like fascinating to read it because it's just like, oh, this is like fucking, it's like so old school. It's not even funny. It's just like, wow, this is weird.
Yep,
It's
and
really
that's what
stripped
they're
down into a
doing.
base. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, man. I'm like, yo, you should be giving these dudes more work because that's the thing.
They should.
I'll buy some Marvel and DC if I hear that it's interesting. Because I hear it's interesting, I say, all right, I'll go pick it up. But primarily, most of my purchasing is just indies. Like, I'm a huge Mignola fan, so the Hellboy universe, I'll pick up all that
Yeah.
stuff. Jeff Lemire with his Black Hammer stuff, and then there's just stuff all over the place. From Image. I try to pick up as much stuff as I can from Scout that looks interesting to me. I'll pick up stuff from Scout and Vault and all those companies. And it's hit or miss. Sometimes you get some stuff that's really, really good, and then you get some stuff that's just like, Jesus Christ, why did I buy this?
Did, did you see my the All This Eternity, the pages that came in? That's my homage to not just Mignola's Hellboy, but also to those Image Comics indie books that have been coming out. That the style of art, and I'm really I got the pages, I almost had a tear in my eye because it's like,
Right.
this is exactly what I was envisioning it to look like when
Mhm.
I saw this guy's
Art.
Jorge's art. When I
Mhm.
saw it, because he showed me his portfolio, and then as soon as I saw it, it was like, whoa, ding ding ding. And then we
Mhm.
talked, and he was in the right budget. And then I was like, okay, let's do this. And I gave him the script for it. And then today I got the pages back. And again, it was almost like, oh my God, this is how I envisioned it. And he nailed it. So I'm so stoked about this book. And he's now started on pages 3 and 4, and we're going to do this. And it's basically taking and telling All This Eternity's origin story from when he was a young man with the Ren Circus, and how he ends up falling in love with the Mistress of Mystery. And
Nice.
and she is a red witch, and
Mhm.
she's the one who basically teaches him about the dark arts and his seduction into the dark arts. And so yeah, I'm excited about it. But the pages came in because you were talking about buying
Mhm.
those Image indies,
Yeah.
and yeah, this is a love letter to those types of books and Mignola verse.
Nice. I'm just gonna pull up my campaign real quick. So this is Magi's Grace. I don't have a video. I didn't do any video for this one. But we made our goal. It was a bit of you know, it took us a while, but we got there. But we're here. We hit our first stretch goal. I mean, if we get to 4,000, it'll be another stretch goal.
108 backers. That is
108
beautiful.
backers. Yep, we got
That's
11
beautiful.
hours left, so it's all good.
Nice.
You know,
Almost
it,
4. We're
yep,
running. We're running neck and neck
yep,
as far as the amount of money. That's cool.
yeah. Like I said, I did the risque covers for this one. This is a Lena Dye, so I thought, hey, everybody speaks highly of her. I said, let me give it a shot.
How's it doing?
Hers did very, very well. This is Elsie Freitas. Another guy, his also did very, very well for us. And like I said, we got the risque covers.
Yep,
This is Narcelio Souza. You know, nice cover art. This is Joel Souza. It's a lot of Souzas. You know,
yeah.
this is Johnny Segura. I like Johnny's work. I always see him on Facebook. I say, you know what, Johnny, let me get a cover out of you. So he did it. He did, I think, a great job. So
He's on my Facebook.
yeah, yeah. PDFs. This is C. Michael Landing. He's my partner. He's the interior artist. This is his cover. This is the main cover of the series. So
Yeah, I was wanting to see his work because obviously we've done many a show together with you
mhm.
guys, and so and he was always talking about him being an artist. So it was kind of cool to finally see his art,
Yeah,
because he was
and
always talking about how I got stuff coming. I got stuff coming.
Yeah.
And it's like now I finally get to see his style and stuff, and he's awesome.
Yep. And then this is a cover I had done by Pablo Verdugo Munoz, who's a guy I've been following for years. I've been like stalking. I stalk artists, right? And I was like, and I was like, and I contacted him, yo, bro, how much for a cover? He told me. I was like, okay, I can do that. And then we did it. So I had him do an Oswald cover, and I had him do this. And I'm gonna hire him to do some more stuff soon. Yeah, and then this is some of the pages. We got some of those, and it's what if Bram Stoker's Dracula invaded H.P. Lovecraft's Innsmouth, wrapped in an episode of Supernatural, and it's that's pretty much it. If you like those elements, I think you might like this story. A lot of monsters, a lot of babes.
I'm looking forward to it, but I look forward to all of your stuff. So, though it is hard to keep up between you and your wife and Daphne, and you guys got between the two of you, you got one thing coming out every month. So,
dude, it is bonkers.
It is bonkers. It's hard to keep up. And then you know me, I'm always saying, hey, do I got this one? Is this it? Or is this new? Is this something that I need? Because it's always coming at me.
It's bonkers, man. It's like, I got this coming out. And here's the thing. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to do this series was because it's like I've been so long doing the Oswald Chronicles. I'm like, does anybody know me from my other work? Right? That I've, actually write stories with people, just actual, not just mice, but, just real people. So I was like, you know what? Let me do something a little different. So I wrote this, for C. And like I said, he's my partner in it. We're 50-50 partners. So, if anything really good were to happen, we both benefit from it. But eventually I'm going to put out something called Dreamweavers, which is something that I had done back in the day.
That you've been talking about for years now.
Right. And that's coming, baby. That's coming. But that's the reason why I did this one. It's just like, to prep it. It's like kind of primer.
Yep.
And
give you a little different flavor from what you're used to.
Oh yeah. And then, then we're going to jump into Girls of Terror X, which is an adult's very NSFW book. Because look, a lot of people shy away from it. I'm like, look, I wrote a book called La Blue Girl back in the day. It was professional work. I got paid to do it. It was for a company called Central Park Media, right? Those books, you can look them up. There's a 12-issue limited series. I wrote from issue 3 to 12. Issues 1 and 2 are adapted directly from the OVA, from the anime, right? And and then they came to me and they were like, could you do something new from 3 to 12? And I was like, that's a very odd request, but yes. But I was like, fine. So I did it. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of, good experience that led into Tenchi Muyu. We did Demon Beast Invasion. We did.
That's all the porno stuff that you did.
Yeah, La Blue Girl is. Tenchi Muyu wasn't. Tenchi Muyu is just another anime, but it was very straight. It was, it's the love triangle boy girl thing. Two girls fall in love with the boy. Two alien ladies fall in love with the Earth boy who's special. It's one of those. It was a lot of fun though. It was popular back then.
I bet you'll do huge in that one. I bet you it's going to do huge numbers, just because you're coming out straight out with it being it's NS, not safe,
NSFW.
Yeah. Because you're coming out with it and you're staying straight up. That is what it is. It's going to, I'm predicting right now on this show, I'm predicting it's going to be your biggest selling Kickstarter ever.
Listen, I hope so. Because here's the thing. We printed, this is going to be a reprint, right? Because we did a 3,000 book print run of it back in the day. It was released through Diamond. We did okay with it. I ended up selling like 3 long boxes worth of it to a retailer for like 50 cents a book. And here's the kicker though. If you look those books up, they range in price from about $30 to about $70 per book. those issues, you can't find them. The same thing with La Blue Girl. From issues 1 to 12, they will range anywhere from $20 to $80 a book, sometimes more. I've seen some with Matthew, who's the artist, where he signed it and he did a remark, and some dude had it slabbed. He was selling it for $600. Now, who knows if he sold it? But I was just like that. I was like, what?
But at least it's out there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just the same thing with my book. So I have a book that was
Mhm.
printed back that was my first real professional byline. So I had a
Mhm.
book called Brainstorm Monsters from the Id, Volume 1,
Right.
that came out in 1996. And I either gave away all my copies or I lost them. So
Mhm.
I went online to see if I could
Get a copy.
get a copy. And then I was like, they were selling for like 50, 60 bucks
Mhm.
a pop. I'm like, I'm not paying 50 bucks for something that I did. No,
Yep.
thank you.
Mhm.
Luckily, my buddy, who is the publisher and the co-writer, he ended up he found some copies in a box, and so he was able to get them to me, because I was like,
Oh, cool.
dude, yes, please, because I do not want to spend
Yep.
what people are, but it is hard to get. Um,
Mhm.
and I understand that, but yeah, I wasn't
Yep.
going to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like I said, and the thing is, the La Blue Girls regularly they were printing 10,000 per issue, and they did trades, and I know the trades went through multiple printings, and those were at 10,000, and even the trades sell for like 40, $50. And I
God,
was
you
just like,
realize that the difference in the time,
mm-hmm.
10,000 printed now, you're taking a bath. Unless
Yeah.
somehow you're 10,000, you're taking a bath.
What
Because
do you mean?
as in, you would lose a lot of money printing up 10,000 copies of a book.
Oh no, but those were sold through Diamond.
No, that's what I'm
You know,
saying. Yeah,
yeah.
unless you got really lucky,
Mm-hmm.
you're not selling 10,000 copies through Diamond nowadays.
No, no, but if you could, right, you're gonna. I mean, if you can sell 10,000 copies through any of those companies, you're doing great. I mean, like I
Oh
said, I mean,
yeah.
that those are really good numbers. Especially even now. So yeah, but I mean, it was crazy, but it was a lot of fun. I made a good living for 2 or 3 years, and it made me swear off of writing professionally. It
Yeah,
did.
that's
I don't like pitching editors, man. It just really frustrates me. It's just like I'm like, look, you want me, hire me for the damn job. If I suck, kick me to the curb. I don't really care, right? That's it.
now I'm because I don't have that. I don't have that drive either. I don't have the drive to work for Marvel or DC. Now, if they came and
Mhm.
knocking, I would listen. But I don't have that desire like so many do, that's their end run. That's their end goal, is I
Yeah.
want to write for them, or I want to do this for this. It's like
Hmm.
I enjoy being able to write whatever the fuck I want to write.
Yep.
And it's all for me. And then I I present it to the world. Um,
Mhm.
and I enjoy it that way. I enjoy having champion, and we made it out. Thank you, AP. You guys are awesome, and getting my books out there on the comic shelves.
That's it. All right. Listen, Carlos, we made it to the hour, so we're gonna wrap this sucker up. So do me a favor. Where can they find you and your work, sir?
All right, so Champion Comics. So it's on Facebook. It would be Facebook/championcomicsgroup.com. Very easy, Champion Comics Group. You can find me personally on Facebook at Karaoke King, um, and then and Carlos F. Raphael. Same thing with Twitter, so X. X, I am Carlos F. Raphael. And on Instagram, it is, what do you call that? The not asterisk, the ampersand, is it?
Right.
Ampersand Champion Comics Group. So You can find me there. Obviously, just look up She Is Black Dahlia on Kickstarter if you want to find the Kickstarter. But those are the places you can find me.
All right, cool. And my name is JD Calderon, and you can find me here just about every Sunday night, hosting a show with a bunch of other crazy creators, usually with JD Rosario and a bunch of other guys and gals. And, you can find me on the OzzoChronicles.com, TallTalesOnline.com, and on Kickstarter, where you can find my project for probably the next 11 hours. And you can find Carlos's project for, what are you up to, 17 hours now?
17, yes.
There you go. So you can find the Black Dahlia, you can find the Magi's Grace. And if you want, go check in those links, hit those links, and go pick up some books. So thank you so much, everybody. And just remember, buy more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.